Okay, so for some of you guys that have been watching my videos for a while, you probably remember this $88 quad. Did a couple of videos on this one here. The manufacturer here, this company named TCMMRC. They sell their stuff on AliExpress. They changed the flight controller and the ESC on this model. I believe it's using the flight controller from the Tyro 129 and upgraded to the 40 amp ESC versus this older F4 and 30 amp ESC. So if you happen to see the old videos in this one and pick it up, I've been told from some of the people that got the next batch of this one with the updated flight controller parts and or stack parts, they say it flies fine because with the 40 amp ESC, you can fly it on force without having to do the hack that I did in that video. But yeah, if you're wondering about that, let me know in the comments and I'll send you the link to this video. This is an basically sub $100 build with some modifications. I've been flying it, on and off for a while now. I'm kind of waiting to see when it'll die, and so far, no balls of fire yet. It's working out pretty well. I did another video where I changed the props in this one. I will do another video later on this one where I'm going to move all these parts over to another frame because I want to run. I'm going to change everything over to a Vista system using DJI, and there's no holes here for the air unit in the back, and so I'm going to move everything over to a different frame in another video. But that's not what this video is about. Set this aside. When I made this video, some of you guys reached out to me and said that you wanted to see a video on this one, another sub $100, which I'm calling a poor man's 2FIDDY. So if you guys know what the Omega 2FIDDY frame is, it's designed around this power setup here of the 2004 motor, and this is what this is. It's basically, even this is more like a racer type frame. I think I'm going to name this video the Poor Man's 2FIDDY because this is about 90 bucks, I believe. A little bit more than the $88 quad over there. Still under $100. And some people were asking me, hey, can you check this one out too? And let us know if this is worth picking up. Because this company, TCMMRC, they do sell a number of models on their store, which I'll link down in the video description. You can check out their store. Let me know if you want to pick up any other models. I think the next one on the list is someone, what the people were suggesting was a 3-inch version. It's like a 3-inch model with I think 1408 motors, I believe. And that one's also under $100. So it seems like getting drones for under $100 seems to be pretty popular right now. There are caveats, right? As I explained in the original $88 quad video, you're buying basically parts slapped together onto a frame. They are nicely assembled. I mean, the builds are, they're clean. They're pretty decent. I don't think that a lot of people out there have the skills to build these themselves to this level of quality, but the parts are not the best. They're, pretty cheap, and this company will change their parts from time to time. So, yeah, let's talk about this quad and how it's built, the frame it comes on, and the software it came on, and everything like that. So, the quad here, let me show you how much it weighs because I flew it as a sub 250 here. Of the quad by itself, it's 153.8, so 154 grams, and I mostly flew with this 650. You can fly with up to an 850, I think, without it being too wonky, but this one I think will make it under 250 grams. So let's put this on here. Yeah, so this is 230 grams. I think the 750 was like 248. I don't have that on me here for the video. But yeah, obviously you can easily get this whole quad here under 250 grams if that is your goal. And I think that's what a lot of people, for whatever reason in wherever they're flying, regulations, etc., they want to fly something that's under 250 grams and doesn't cost a ton of money. In fact, I think if you picked up this frame and wanted to picked up this quad and move all these parts over to a different frame because you don't like this frame for whatever reason, I think the 250 frame is like 60 bucks. So if you pick up that and you could take these parts and move those over, I'm pretty sure the motor mount and everything, the whole pattern, this 2004 motor is going to work. This is a 20x20 stack. You probably have to move the video transmitter to the back. yeah, I would actually just get this for the parts and then probably make it into a DJI. You can use the camera, of course, if you want to make it analog. It's really up to you. This frame is an ultralight frame, obviously, and nothing really that special. It's a 5mm arms. It's a single bottom plate here, and then you got this separator and this little plate for the battery, and that's where the battery strap goes through, underneath there. And you got a 20x20 stack. This one here used to be in like some Eachine models. So again, I think they get this factory gets their parts from Eachine. I don't remember which ones it was. I'll link the listing to the stack because they sell these parts separately as well. If you don't want to buy the whole quad, but it's actually cheaper to buy the whole quad because if you buy the stack and the video transmitter and the camera separately and the motor separately, it actually costs more than just buying the whole thing just built. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, it's a generic F411 board with a lot of plugs. It comes with a plug in the back for an S-Bus receiver, which I removed. It actually goes right there. And I just soldered on my own Express LRS receiver here, which is the Betaflight, Beta FPV. This is that flat antenna version, and it's fine. This is the updated version that works. I've been able to update it to the latest firmware. Didn't have any issues with range or fail-safes or anything like that. I wasn't flying too far away, but I just kind of shoved it in there. And you do have to take the video transmitter off. There's some little nuts here. Pull that off. This has the same issue with the video transmitter that the $88 quad has. They don't set these up with smart audio for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's very easy to just because it's got a plug here on the side for the video transmitter. They remove the data wire, which you can put it you can easily put it in. But for this one, I elected not to do that. It's pretty easy to set that up. If you watch the other video, it's exactly the same way. There's actually a solder pad on the bottom where you can solder a wire and then put it onto your video flight controller and set up smart audio. It's not a big deal. The motors here, 2004 motors. These are 2900 kV and they are made by URUAV. I don't know which model this was from. The kV on here is a bit high, and I actually flew it for a little bit on whatever it came with. It was like a Betaflight 3.55. It was like really old, and it did not fly that great. Had a lot of vibrations, and it's basically because the kV was way too high. I think for the setup, plus the ESC is only 20 amps, so I think they really just kind of again slap parts together. So what I did was, and I'll actually link a separate video where I show you the setup here of what I just flashed Betaflight 4.3. Totally stock PIDs. I didn't adjust anything, but I did put a motor output limit in here. I think it was 80% or 85%, just to bring the kV down a little bit because I'm a little worried about those 20 amp ESCs. And it flies pretty decent. I mean, it's, in some fair amount of wind, you see a little bit of vibrations. But it's very controllable. Obviously, you could probably tweak the PID tune a little bit. I didn't really do any of that stuff. Just Betaflight defaults, and it's 4.3.1 with the motor output limit, and it flies pretty good. Now, you do get vibrations still because this is kind of a very skinny armed frame, and you see some jello in the camera footage because this mount here is not the best TPU in the world. They could definitely improve this design for the camera mount, so you do see some shaking here. But I think what I'm going to do is probably get another 2FIDDY 5-inch frame and move it all over to that, and make another, sort of another poor man's 2FIDDY, but actually in the 2FIDDY frame. But you don't really need to do that if you just want to fly it around as is here. If you just put on the Betaflight 4.3 one that I put on here, just look at that other video. Just follow along with that one. I don't want to give you a CLA dump because people seem to not know how to apply those correctly, and so I end up trying to help people for days on end on trying to correct their mistakes. So yeah, I would recommend, if you don't know how to manage a CLI dump, don't do it, because you're more likely to mess things up, because the different versions of Betaflight don't have all these different settings, and some of them don't mean the same things, and so the numbers don't match up, and so some bad things can happen, like burning out of motors, etc. So be aware of that. But yeah, just follow along in that video. You can look at the step by step what I did. I didn't do any tuning. It's just the Betaflight defaults on 431. I think I did put in the RPM filter, turn that on, and also flashed the I think it was the BlueJay firmware to the ESCs. That's pretty much it. So at the end of the day, it pretty much flies as expected. It's so light, and it is going to be affected by wind. You do have to fly it a little bit differently, because if you're trying to fly like a traditional 5-inch, like this one over here, which weighs 3 times as much, it's you're not going to have the same results. You have to, basically you're going to be flying it differently with different kinds of throttle management, and it is very floaty. I think some of you guys don't like that feel, but there's ways to fly around that, and if you fly enough of these, you'll figure it out. It's hard to explain, but basically you have to stay on the throttle a little bit longer through certain moves, but you can pretty much do all the same moves. You just can't, do the moves where you hit the throttle and then put the throttle to 0 and let the quad just sort of take its, the mass and the momentum and have it just float over stuff. That is a little bit different. You have to sort of maintain your throttle on a lot of the moves, but you can pretty much fly it similarly. But this one is, I think, not really the best for freestyle. There's definitely a lot of other options out there. I think this is going to be like if you're looking for a budget type of quad, Sub250, decent flight time, but obviously this is not going to be the most super durable if you're a beginner, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend this as your first quad. I would say maybe start off with like a whoop or a small micro, and then if you want to move to something a little bit bigger after you've sort of figured out how not to crash so often and fly this in like soccer fields, that kind of thing. This might be a good quad to sort of fly in if you want like longer flight time or flight sessions, for example. I think that's another thing a lot of people are interested in, is not having to land every 2 minutes and swap out your battery, but be able to go on those longer 5, 6, 7 minute flights and stay under 250 grams. So, and this is analog, of course, and it's under $100. So that's pretty much it. I've reviewed these sort of ultralight 5 inches before, like the 2FIDDY and some others. You can go back and look at some of those videos if you want to see a little more details. It's pretty much the same as the other ones. This one is a little bit lighter compared to those other ones I reviewed before. So if you're looking for something even lighter, maybe go with a bigger battery, more flight time, and still stay under 250. This one can definitely do that for you. Now, I said earlier, I am going to look at a 3-inch from this company. It's under $100 as well. Probably not going to get to that one until like probably September, after Labor Day, probably, most likely. So yeah, go take a look at the site, at their store. Let me know if you want to see some other models from this company, because they do have a number of other models. They use a wide variety of parts. It's just kind of wild. It's almost like the FPV casino. You don't know what you're going to get. And yeah, they have just a wide variety of different frames, 5-inch, 3-inch. I think they have a couple 4-inch in there somewhere. They have a lot of weird 5-inch frames. And honestly, a lot of them I'm not particularly fond of in terms of the design. But the way I look at it is like this company is basically, they just kind of grab like the cheapest, ugliest frames out there and just slap a bunch of parts in and, okay, let's go see if someone wants to fly it. And I would look at this as sort of a way of acquiring parts for pretty cheap, and you can kind of transfer them over to a different frame, and not really invest a ton of money. So if you don't like the way their frames look, but maybe the parts are looking pretty decent and you're interested in having me take a look at it, let me know which ones down in the comment section. Take a look at, they have weird names, by the way. So you're going to have to, don't put the link in there, because I know some of you guys say, oh, I put my comment in and I linked to their thing. For whatever reason, YouTube doesn't allow links. So that I'll never see that comment. I can't even see it in the spam. It's just gone. So don't put a link in there. Put the name of the model, which they'll have some weird names. Just copy paste it into your comment, and I will take a look at those and see what people are interested in, and we'll take a look at those for the next video. But yeah, as I said, I kind of look at them as like, okay, a source of cheap parts that you can probably just they're already kind of assembled already, and maybe you can easily move them over to another frame, which is what I'm going to do for this first quad that I reviewed. Going to be putting that into a different frame for a future video. I don't know when that's going to be out. Don't ask me. I have no idea. But yeah, that's what I look at as well, on this one as well. I'm thinking I'll probably move this up to like a 250 frame. Maybe that purple one. That's kind of cool. That's like $75. Yeah, if that's something you want me to check out, let me know in the comments as well. You know, you read those and see what you want to do for the future. But yeah, I am liking these under $100 parts. You know, they're not blowing up on me. I know all you guys are saying, oh, how you must have bought 10 of these, and that's why they're not blowing up on you, because 5 of them are blew up and you're just not telling us about it. No, I got one of these. They haven't caught fire yet. I think you do have to know what you're doing. If you just pull it out of the box and fly it like an iFlight, you know, something with, you know, another some sort of high-end FPV products that's been QC tested, and they've done, you know, other due diligence and their homework and everything, you're not going to get that same experience here, because you're not paying for that. It's under $100. You know, you're basically just paying for the parts, and in fact, you're paying for the parts already assembled, which is kind of crazy, because the parts unassembled cost more. So I have no idea how they're doing this, but yeah, you know, that's what you're paying for. You're not paying for super high quality or super awesome support. You're just paying for parts, and you kind of have to know what you're doing. So if you're, I know there's a lot of beginners out there like, oh, I want to get into FPV for super cheap, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't really recommend this route until you've gotten your feet wet a bit and know a bit what you want to do. And again, you could go this route and just sort of experiment and blow things up, and then, okay, I'll learn some lessons, and, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, but I would recommend going with something a lot more pricey. You're going to be spending, probably over $200, maybe $300 for better support and better parts, and not have to go do all these sort of workarounds again, like I did for this one and for that one. If you do that, if you're willing to do the work and understand the limitations and what you're working with here, you can have a good experience and have a good time flying these. It's just that you have to have the experience and know-how to figure that out. Anyway, enough of me lecturing on this one. That's going to do it for this video. Talk to you guys in the next one.